guys, first Sergeant V here, back with another GCSS-Army helpful tip and video. And today we are continuing our CMDP series with Seaburn operations in the Seaburn room. So this quick video here is going to break down how we're going to do our series, the outline for it. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So basically the Seaburn series. So we're going to cover a multitude of things in this series, and we're also going to cover the grade inspection and the Seaburn OIP inspections that your battalions and brigades do. So basically for the CMDP Seaburn, we're going to do the intro video, how to set up your Seaburn room, talk about in processing, out processing. Of course, going over the CMDP checklist, breaking it up because it's a huge chunk of material. Checks 1 through 5, then 6 through 10. Then we're going to talk about how to add Seaburn services to your DTMS, how to create service packets for your Seaburn equipment. I know it's not required, but it's something that I do. Keep everything uniform and dress right dress. Talk about adding TMDE to your DTMS calendar. Talk about training to DTMS calendar. Talk about ARMs and binder labels, how to order Seaburn equipment, shelf life items, completing a CDE report, right? How to create your MAL, your mass chart. And then we're going to go into the grade inspection series, which basically it's a force comm inspection. It's pretty big of a deal. But if you prepare for the CMDP, you have no problem passing the grade inspection or the OIP inspection. So the OIP inspection can be broken into 7 parts. Of course, the intro video, and we're going to talk about administration, safety, appearance, SOP, training, accountability, maintenance. All right, so that is the outline for the Seaburn series. I'm also thinking about doing another sub-series of this, or some LTTs and PowerPoints and stuff to give you guys to train on your Seaburn equipment. So I hope this video was helpful. If you're new to the channel, make sure that like and subscribe button. We're going to continue our series. We'll have some more videos drop in the next couple days. As always, go Ordnance. Part 2 of our CMDP series on Seaburn operations, Seaburn room. So today's video, I'm basically going to show you how I set up my Seaburn room. Like I said, this is just the way I do it. If you have some other ideas or some things that have worked for you in the past, make sure you leave them down in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you all for all your support that y'all have given me over this past almost 2 years now doing this. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started with the Seaburn room layout. All right. So basically, this is how I lay out my Seaburn room. So I normally have 3 cabinets, 1 for each size of my mass, small, medium, and large. I normally have a cork board, binder shelf, a desk, 2 chairs, of course your filing cabinet done with ARMs, my do-out board, and then on my wall behind me is I normally have my radiation locker, my JCAD, UDR 2s, 13s, and any of my J-list or other supplies like my chemical papers or decon kits and so forth. So basically, these are the rules that I brief my Seaburn NCO when he first takes over. I normally do an initial counseling and tell him this is what I expect from the Seaburn room. So the Seaburn room will be kept neat and organized at all times, right? So below this is what I expect. Hopefully y'all expect the same thing. All records will be filed daily. This prevents loss of records and additional work, right? All records will use ARM files system and will be uniformed, okay? So all trackers will be kept up to date daily and all changes will be briefed to the commander and first sergeant. I think that's important. The commander and first sergeant should be tracking the Seaburn, all right? TMDE will be managed with a 0 delinquency rate. Seaburn SOP will be used at all times. No records will leave the Seaburn room unless noted by the commander and first sergeant. And then, of course, the unit DTMS SOP will be used to create training and service and TMDE data events. So I use my company DTMS SOP we created so that we identify a certain color that when we look at our training calendar, anything that's red for us means it's either a service or some type of TMDE or calibration, right? So going into my bookshelf, my binders. So this is where I have all my binders with my locator system with the ARMS label. And usually I have my DTMS SOP, my unit maintenance SOP, TMDE lab, DTMS user guide, ARMS user guide, my CDE battle book, TMDE binder, unit training calendar, and then of course the battalion Seaburn SOP and battalion TAC op. And then of course the GCSS-Army battle book I built all my sections. So desk items, this is simple. I mean, I don't like a cluttered desk, right? So I make it so it's just computer, monitor, unit DTMS SOP, unit Seaburn SOP, in and out box, keyboard, cat card reader, mouse pad. That's all I want on their desk. So on the cork board, usually I have additional training resources, you know, some publications or something, some quick reference guides, you know, like J-list fitting, sizing, stuff like that. I normally have a 162 with a Privacy Act sheet so that we can verify personnel, and then any helpful guides or handouts. For the filing cabinets, like I said, everything in the Seaburn's room, all the equipment files are done with the ARMS labeled. All right. The current oral for the year that's been approved is actually on the filing cabinet. The Privacy Act statement, the FOUO sticker, and then of course each drawer, whatever record series is in that drawer needs to be labeled. So if I'm going 600, 800 Delta in one drawer, I need to put that on the actual desk drawer. Then we go to our do-out board. So on the do-out board, what I normally do is I have any upcoming events, training resources, first sergeant do-outs, battalion, company do-outs, important dates, events, and then of course I have my blank in processing, out processing sheets. So we're going to do a separate video on in processing, out processing, but that's a critical part to your Seaburn operations right there. Then my mask cabinet. So like I said, each size mask gets its own cabinet. Each cabinet will have to be designated for each size of mask. No more than 5 masks per shelf. Every shelf will be labeled with the mask admin number and operator's name. And then what I like to do is I like to take the latest 5988 and I put it under the mask, right? So that's what I do. So anytime we issue a mask or whatever, the 5988 is always right there. Your rad locker, like all items need to be stored away for protection. The locker will have a safe a sheet that identifies the type, the quantity of the product, and most importantly, I didn't list it on here, but your safety data sheets. All right, so anything that you have in your Seaburn room that requires a safety data sheet, make sure you have that on file. All right, that is inspectable. Equipment locker, like I said, my JCAS, my JCAS normally have their own locker because they're kind of bulky with the cases. Your VDR2s, your 13s, if you got the what's it, 75s, the J list, the other supplies to include decon equipment will also all have a separate locker, right? So like I said, these are just ideas of what I do and how the guidance that I give my Seaburn rep when he's doing the initial setup of the Seaburn and taking over. So like I said, this is just recommendations. Make sure you leave your comments down below. We're going to do part 3 of the series sometime later today, hopefully later today. So I hope you're enjoying the series so far. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, go Ordnance. Part 3 of our series with the Seaburn and CMDP operations in Seaburn room. So today we're going to be talking about in processing, out processing personnel. So these are just some helpful hints and stuff that I use and train my guys on. And this is how we in process and out process personnel in the Seaburn room in the current company I'm in. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. All right, here we go. So by the way, if you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, leave your comments down below. All right. Like I said, this is Seaburn operation. This is in processing, out processing personnel. So this is all administrative, okay? This is going to help set you guys up for success. It's going to help build your battle rosters, your CDE reports, your mask mall, equipment malls, and so forth. So basically in processing, right? So every soldier must in process the Seaburn room. When I talk about in processing, some of the things that we make sure that we do is we do an initial PMCS of the mask that they're going to receive and a cleaning of the mask. Mask issue and sign 2062. We issue any equipment cards or equipment receipt cards, your DA form 3749s, just in case in the event that they are going to be assigned a JCAD or UDR2, 13, or whatever type of equipment that they're going to be signing in and out of the Seaburn room. Some things that I verify during these checks is, are there files created for every soldier, right? So what I do is I like to look at their 162, or I just randomly say, hey, show me Specialist Johnson's folder. Make sure that he's been in process and everything is done. All right. When they in process, one of the important things here is this: Seaburn mall created and accurate, right? So make sure that the mall is being updated, especially with all the initial sizes, their J lists and stuff like that. And then, are there maintenance records, right? Is initial PMCS or cleaning the mask being conducted? This here is just a excerpt from my company and processing checklist. I'm going to put it in the files on my Teams account. If you guys do want it, let me know down below. But basically, I took every section in my company: operations, training, supply, orderly room, arms room, motor pool, master driver, and built a checklist so they have to and process all these sections. So for the Seaburn, protective mask insert and sign for, has a Seaburn data sheet been filled out for every soldier, right? Mask fit test complete. So for me, my company I'm currently in right now, we don't actually have a pass machine to actually fit masks. So I normally try to schedule my newly arrived soldiers once a month with my HAC and knock out the fit test. And just keep in mind, that you have 30 days to fit them from the time they arrive at your unit. And then there's also the annual requirement. Like I said, initial mask cleaning at 5988 complete. We normally have the soldier review the unit SOP so he knows what his responsibilities are as an operator or equipment and receipt owner. A lot of times we issue our DA form 3749 equipment receipts. Like I said in the previous slide, your JCAS, any type of equipment that they're going to be signing for. So this is just an example of my Annex D and my Seaburn SOP for the in processing, just mask size, number, rank, name. Are they left-handed or right-handed fire? Do they wear glasses? Date of optometry if they need one. MOP suit information, right? So all your sizes that you need to build your battle rosters are all right here. And then I don't have the mask fit date and test date of when they're actually being fitted. This here is just an example of an equipment receipt, DA form 3749. Basically what we use in the arms room. I hope you guys are using this. It speeds things up a lot easier. But yeah, unit, receipt, stock number, serial number, description, the soldier's name, and then of course the commander signs, right? Pretty self-explanatory on that. Then we're talking about our out processing, right? So normally what I do is I have the losing soldier do a joint 1020 level PMCS with my Seaburn rep. We do a mask cleaning. Soldiers turn in their equipment receipts. Soldiers receive their 2062s back if they do not require like a statement of charges or flipple, if there's not any damage to the equipment. Soldiers file, we move it to the inactive file. So we're updating our records immediately. Then also we provide a soldier a copy of all the Seaburn training that was conducted to carry forward. I know y'all been in the Army probably a while, so Seaburn training is one area that we screw up. I think I can count on my hand how many times I've actually done Seaburn training in a company. So that's one thing that I wanted to change when I became a first sergeant. I wanted to put some emphasis on Seaburn training and that type of training. But make sure you're giving the soldier a copy of his training records so that when he goes to his next unit, you're setting him for success. Say, hey, he was trained on this. So it's going to help maybe his gaining unit, help him decide if they're going to put him on a decon or recon team, and he has training on the JCAS, sort of like train the trainer stuff. And then the last thing I have him do is my Seaburn rep corrects them all so that mask immediately is ready to be issued by someone else. So like I said, in processing, out processing is pretty simple. It all comes down to standards, procedures, right? And all that stuff should be driven directly out of your SOP. There's nothing rocket science about this, right? It's all normal stuff and stuff we should be doing, but somehow in the Army we find a way to make shortcuts for this. So like I said, this video was just some helpful hints on how I do things, how my company's currently running. And like I said, if you have some other ideas that I could use or what's worked for you in the past, make sure you leave them down below. But we'll be back sometime later today with part 4 of our series. But as always, go Ordnance. our CMDP series on Seaburn room operations and procedures and checks, right? So today we're going to start talking about the first checks 1 through 5. Like I said, this is going to be the longest portion of this actual series. The last check 6 through 10 are pretty simple and pretty easy. This is a lot of the administrative stuff. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started with checks 1 through 5 on the CMDP checklist. All right, so hope you guys are enjoying the series so far. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, right? So like I said, this is the Seaburn room operations CMDP checklist, checks 1 through 5. So here's just an overview of the actual checklist, 10 questions, possible 50 points, right? So let's start with check 1. So radiation safety officer, chemical, biological, nuclear defense, primary assistant officer will be identified and appointed in writing, okay? So DAPM 385-24 covers this. Things I like to check during the CMDP inspection are appointment orders on file. Are they posted? Are orders signed by the current commander? And has a prime and alternate been identified, right? So here's 385-24, the regulation, and it clearly states the commander designates in writing, okay? So just keep that in mind. So here's an example of the appointment orders. If you do want a copy of this, I'm going to drop it in on Microsoft Teams. If you don't have a Teams account, just leave me your email down below and I will get you a copy. So check 2. Current SOP includes training, certification, unit Seaburn operations, right? So these are all the regulations that cover this stuff. When we get more into the grate inspection and the OIP, we're going to actually tear apart the SOP and go over each category of what's actually required. Things that I like to verify during this is the SOP currently signed by the commander. Does it cover training, and how does the unit certify as training? So yeah, we may be training, but how are we certifying training? Are we keeping records? What are we doing? We just doing check the block, or are we actually certifying the training? All right. Does it cover training, right? Does the SOP define roles at all leadership levels? And that's from your commander, your first sergeant, your supply, Seaburn, all the way down to the lowest level. Does the SOP cover maintenance? Okay, so we're pretty bad. So you've been in the Army a while, you know that Seaburn, arms room, and commo rarely get touched. We fail to PMCS our masks, we fail to PMCS our radios. Half the time we don't do our weapons until they're due for the quarterly service, or we just half-ass everything, right? So we need to get in the habit of actually fixing that. Also, most importantly, does it cover TMDE? All right, so all the stuff in the Seaburn room, it requires calibration. Is it current? Is it delinquent? Are they projecting it? How are they managing their TMDE in there? All right, and then, like I said, it's the CMDP, the appointment orders, all that stuff signed. So it's just excerpt from AR 750-1, telling you that, general policies and procedures. Looking at 750-1 again, DAPM, table 10-2, that's where you're going to find all of your programs for the maintenance and the actual CMDP checklist and the regulations and the frequency that goes along with it, all right? So here's DAPM 750-3. This is just talking about the needs of a standard operating procedures, right? And it clearly states all units performing maintenance are required to have a maintenance standing operating procedure signed by the unit commander. All right. So here's DAPM 750-3. This is paragraph 2-3. In case y'all don't know, this is where you will find everything that needs to be in your areas to be mentioned in your SOP. So all these categories is what should be in your SOP. All right. So a lot of people wonder what do you cover in your SOP? So I'm going to give you an example of an SOP that I just finished creating in my unit for 223 Infantry here on Fort Carson. So yeah, so basically your SOP, right? So what we talked about, responsibilities, right? So we go over the commander's responsibilities, the chemical officer, the first sergeant, the Seaburn NCO. And we talk about, Seaburn enlisted alternate. What's the alternate's job, right? And then we talk about the TMDE or the GCSS-Army, or what is their role in the Seaburn program? Then, of course, the the publications. So publications, if you guys haven't had a chance to watch my publications series, make sure you go ahead and watch that. But publications, do you have the manuals that you need on hand for the Seaburn room? Platoon sergeants, squad leaders, assigned equipment operators, your supply sergeants should have some type of roles. You know, operator PMCS. How do we do PMCS? Do we use it's, I mean, it's pretty, I know it sounds pretty petty, but a lot of us don't do operator PMCS on our mass, right? We wait till the semi-annual service and then boom, we just knock out a 5988. That's not the way it should be. All right. So if you look at like here, my maintenance schedule. So I have a weekly maintenance once a month on that first week. Right. So we do mass, then we do redax, then we do chemical detections, and then we do our self-life items. So we're going to do a separate series on self-life item inspections, but that's some of the stuff that we cover. Of course, we cover unit PMCS, right? Supply accountability, right? That is probably the most important pieces in this whole Seaburn operation is the accountability of all the property book items in there. And then we cover safety guidance, right? So any type of safety guidance, environmental compliance. Then we talk about calibrations. You know, if you guys are using an M41 pass machine, just keep in mind every 18 months or 500 hours, it needs to be calibrated. You need to find a way how to track that. So how are you actually tracking your usage for your pass machine, right? Then we talk about publication management. Like I said, publications and file management, everything in the Army. Doesn't matter what unit you are required to use ARAMS. ARAMS is the Army standard for filing, right? We talk about readiness reporting, and then most importantly, your SOP, it must be signed, okay? Make it signed. And just keep in mind that your SOP is supposed to be reviewed annually. So in our SOP, we have stated that every 6 months we will review our SOP, so we're meeting that requirement. So we're actually reviewing it twice a year. All right. And then from there, my SOP is broken up into a bunch of annexes where the first annex alpha, is just all the field manuals and all the stuff that's required between the CMDP, the OIP inspections, or the grade inspection. And then, yeah, so this talks about all this stuff here. Annex B is where we put our hours of operation. We talk about our in processing, out processing, what's required on the mass chart or mass mall. We talk about optical inserts and hard to fit, right? So in the event a soldier cannot be fitted for an N50 mass, you know, there's a skull cap that you can order and actually try to fit them. If that does not work, then I hate to say this, but especially if you're in a command position, but that soldier is non-deployable. So you need to keep that in mind. All right. So make sure your hard to fit program for the soldiers that do not and cannot be fitted with a mask, make sure that you're tracking this, because this accepts, you got to report this up higher. Okay. So there's a reason for that. We talk about turn-in procedures. We talk about calibration of equipment, how we track. So we use the TMDE master list, a projection list. Then we also use a little Excel sheet that we attach with our ball, with our equipment stuff, that we able to track our calibrations. And we talk about Annex C is just environmental safety issues, you know, what we're supposed to do, talk about radiation incidents and so forth. And we go into here, talk about your PDR 75s and the hazmat inventory. Like I said, the safety data sheets are needed for everything in the Army, and same way with the Seaburn room. All right, so keep that in mind. Annex D, this is just one of an excerpt from our processing checklist. All right. Annex E is our shelf life items. So your shelf life items. So every 90 days, you're supposed to inspect your shelf life items. So this is a simple tracker that you can do. I have a separate video I built for shelf life items that we're going to go through in about 4 or 5 videos from now. But how are you tracking your shelf life items? All right. Annex F is just, you know, equipment operator responsibilities when it comes to decontamination and stuff like that. All right. Annex G is sustainment training. So what I like to do is the skill level 1, 2, 3, and some 4 level tasks is what we use to build our individual and collective task and build up to our units readiness. So a few things to keep a note though: an annual mass confidence exercise, right? So you're required to annually do a confidence test with the mask, you know, annual Seaburn certification. So gas chambers, stuff like that, right? So you got to keep in mind, like, the Seaburn NCO or your rep is responsible for maintaining the date of the last training for all operators. So just keep that in mind. You should have his name, the section, the model number, date trained. Okay, so that is all supposed to be happening. And like I said, I just break down the skill level task. Then Annex 8 is just our requisition supplies and equipment and repair parts. So basically, this is how we, once we identify a deficiency, do we put it in order and so forth. So check 3, right? So Seaburn equipment maintenance on the training calendar. So things I verify: DTMS updated to reflect TMDE due dates, mask cleaning services, and training requirements. Who's updating your DTMS Seaburn requirements? So for me, I make sure that my Seaburn rep is qualified with DTMS through the troop schools here on Fort Carson. Then he is solely responsible for the DTMS Seaburn equipment. All right. Do you have a prime and an alt? Does the Seaburn rep have a copy of the DTMS training calendar? Right. So that's important. That comes down to planning. You'd be surprised how many Seaburn rooms fail because they do not have their mass servicing, any training, TMDE requirements, anything like that on their unit training calendar. Make sure we're putting that on there. That helps protect the mechanics in our sections from taskings and so forth to show that how many man hours are actually required to conduct these services and operations. So, for example, here's a copy of my training schedule. So if you look right here on July 5th, 09 to 1700, right? Semi-annual service for N50 mass service and cleaning, 88 total services. So right here is what I'm going to look for when I look in the CMDP. Are they actually on the training calendar, right? Same thing with TMD calibrations, right? So if you look here on July 7th, we have 3 TMD drop-offs, right? So I don't like to use admin numbers a lot because admin numbers change, but serial numbers and model numbers and nomenclatures do not change, all right? So make sure we're just keeping that on there. And then here's DAPM 750-8. This is your DD form 314. We've kind of got away from this, but this is where you can find that information. And then you got 750-1, paragraph 3-2. This is just telling you about the Army's maintenance standard, right? So Army has one standard, 10 and 20, right? That includes all faults that have been identified, corrected, parts requisition, valid document numbers, scheduled services complete. It also includes all your MWOs. It includes your COIE and BII, right? So all that is required to make a piece of equipment 1020 standards. So here's check 4. All Seaburn equipment items are entered into lists, right? DAPM 750-8, 3-10. So what I like to do is I go in and I filter all my stuff by my chemical gear, fill my equip sit through GCSS-Army, and I just make sure I take this and I bounce it off what I have in the arms room or Seaburn room, and then what I have actually in GCSS-Army. So you want to make sure that this is done, right? So you want to make sure that everything is correct, right? That's a big check here. So like I said, 5988 is an inspection forms, okay? Here's some examples of pronouncing GCSS-Army. So you got 3 different 5988s here. You got one for a mass, a JCAT, and a VDR2. But you want to verify the admin data, the service plans, faults, and FMC versus NMC, and of course, administratively deadlines, right? So you want to make sure you're keeping track of this. One good idea is in your Seaburn room, have like an ESR that he prints out daily, like get him trained up, or have an ESR email to him so that he's tracking all of his statuses for his mask. So all Seaburn equipment that requires services, tests, and calibration is scheduled, right? So there's a few checks you can do for this. It's check 5. You can validate service plans and data. Does the Seaburn rep have a copy of the service schedule? I like to go 1 year out. Service packages and documents present for all applicable equipment, right? Are they enrolled in TMDE, right? I keep saying that. Are they enrolled in TMDE? 90% of Seaburn's rooms that fail CMDP or any type of inspection is because none of their equipment is enrolled in TMDE. The stuff is coded out and it's just sitting in a locker somewhere. If the equipment's unserviceable, get rid of it. You're not going to get a new one until you turn the old one in. All right, because all equipment have TMDE labels. So a lot of times the TMDE labels will fall off. you can't read them, make sure you go to your TMDE lab and get those replaced, right? Are all files filed in accordance with ARMS? That's another thing, right? And can the rep access the TMDE portal? Does he have an ASIP account? If he doesn't have an ASIP account, I suggest you get him one. All right, so you're going to make his job easier and your job and your life a lot easier. So here you go. This is just talking again about, you know, the preventive maintenance checks and services process. Same thing here, what first line supervisor is responsible. So what I like to do is I like to go into GARMY with the TICO ZMPRPT and print out the service schedule and export in Excel for my Seaburn guys, so you're able to track it, right? And then, like I said, it's pretty easy to go into ASIP and pull the TMDE report. In the event, well, not in the event, but most of you guys are on installations. I know here on Carson, we got like one TMDE lab that services everybody. So they have like a portal link where they're actually post and update their projected list, master list, and shop list all daily. So you are able to get it there as well. So basically, once you're in ASIP, you can go to LDAC Sabre, and you'll go, oh, where you go? You'll go to maintenance readiness metrics, and you just scroll down here until you find the TMDE readiness. Now, once you put in your own UIC, there's multiple tabs across. If you haven't had a chance to watch my TMDE series that I've done, make sure you go back and watch the TMDE series. But this is pretty cool stuff here, especially for your company maintenance training meetings and all that stuff. You can export this right here, and it's going to give you some high-speed little bar graphs and percentages, right? So, like I said, 0% is our standard for delinquent. If you look at this, 37% of my company's TMDE is delinquent, which is bad, right? So this is going to tell you how many total lines are enrolled, how many are in shop, how many are waiting pickup, how many are delinquent. Another thing to look at is right here is plus 90 plus days. So if you have stuff that's coming up for, you can click on that, or you can just go to your projection list. And then, like I said, once you're into the TMDE page, a bunch of tabs, and you can actually hit your master list screen, and it's going to give you all your whole master list, the date that was due for calibration and the last calibration date, right? And you can take all that information, you can actually export it to a Excel document, and it's going to give you all the information. So on schedule, if it's delinquent, so forth, right? So it's also going to tell you if it's awaiting pickup. So make sure those items that are in TMDE awaiting pickup, you pick them up so you can get your availability rate higher, right? So, like I said, these were the first 5 checks, the CMDP series on the Seaburn operations and Seaburn room. Really not complicated, it's just a lot to manage. And once you have it set up the correct way and you're managing these, all you have to do is maintain it, right? So keep that in mind. Hope this video was helpful. Stay tuned for checks 6 through 10. But as always, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and go Ordnance. Back with another GCSS-Army helpful tip and video on maintenance operations, talking about part 5 of our CMDP series on Seaburn operations and Seaburn room. All right, so today's video, we're going to cover the last checks 6 through 10, and then we're going to move on to the next video in the series. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Without further ado, let me share my screen and we will get started. All right. So here is check 6 through 10. So just as usual, this is just an overview of the operation checks. And we're going to start with check 6, which is unit maintains M41 pass calibrated based on calibration date. My unit currently doesn't have a pass machine, but every 18 months or 500 hours, it must be calibrated, right? DTMS 750-8, paragraph 3-7 Bravo. So things to verify is the calibration current on the pass machine and what type of tracking system is the unit using to actually log the hours of operation for the equipment. So that's important. All right. All right, so Check 7 is maintenance faults and inner parts installed displayed on the 5988, right? So is PMCS being conducted is number 1. Our 5988s on file in accordance with ARMS. Do all faults identified have a hardened order, and then all faults with parts on hand or all parts on hand, are they actually being corrected? So easy way to see this is if you look at a fault that was done in March and it's July and it shows it's been issued a work order. Why is it not closed? Is the fault corrected and fixed, right? Make sure that they're updating their equipment. So this DTMS 7-8 is just talking about the 5988 and different rules and what to look for and how to actually figure it out. Check 8 is your operators will be trained and licensed with LIS for Seaburn equipment. So there was a little bit of debate. I actually had to reach out to the ForceCom master driver on this one because I was a little confused. So saying it's quote 600-55 paragraph 7-1, right? So things to verify is their training documents supporting Seaburn equipment, right? Your JCADs, your DDR2s, your 13s, any type of chemical decon training is there equipment that supports that. Most importantly, is it in DTMS, right? Our operator is licensed on equipment that requires to be licensed. So more likely your Seaburn rep will be licensed when your pass machine, your JCAD, and the type of equipment like that. Lastly, does the unit maintenance SOP and master driver SOP cover Seaburn equipment, right? So is there, in the event that you have equipment that requires to be licensed through GCSS-Army and so forth, is there some type of POI developed or some type of checks and balances for it? So keep that in mind. Like I said, this is 600-55. This tells you what qualifies. So like I said, I reached out to the ForceCom master driver. What he told me was any Seaburn equipment that is a vehicle, has an engine, or has a tank such as compressed oxygen, right? So things like masks don't need to be licensed or any other piece of equipment that are simple technology and not something that is powered, for a lack of a better term, right? So that's from Master Sergeant Huddleston, right? Check 9, repair and service parts on order, okay, with valid document number. So this is really important, okay? So this tells us we're actually doing our PMCSs and our maintenance on our equipment. Verify 5988s with any faults, right? Verify your Z Pro stat to see any document numbers for parts that have been requisitioned against those faults. Does the unit track parts? And, how do they track parts? IGC, FedMall, etc. One thing I try to do, all my section leads, Seaburn, Armstrong, they all have ASIP accounts. That way they're able to track their own parts and figure out when and what is going on with their equipment. It's just 750-1, like usual. The Army has one maintenance standard, 1020 FMC, including BII and COIE, including. So this is just talking about preventive maintenance checks and services. And then check 10, unit current has current publications available, either electronic, hard copy, or order, right? So where the pub is located, are they on order? Is there a publication library built for all Seaburn equipment? So if you haven't had a chance to go back and look at my publication series, make sure you go look at it. I'll show you how to set up your publications accounts, publication libraries, index card system, and your ARM files as well. So like I said, this is just 750-3. Paragraph 3-5 Bravo, talking about publications, okay? So as you see, the last couple checks are pretty simple. Not a lot to do. Easy not to fail, as long as you maintain your records, maintain accountability, you're performing maintenance, updating your 5988s and so forth, you'll be good to go. All right, so hope you liked that video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment down below if there's something in this series you want me to explore more in depth. As always, go Ordnance. Part 6 of our Seaburn series for the CMDP checklist, with adding services to the DTMS training calendar for your units. All right, so like I said, I hope you guys are really enjoying the series so far. We're going to knock out the whole CMDP inspection next probably 30-45 days and go from there. But without further ado, let me go and share my screen and I will show you how to do services in DTMS. All right, so adding services, right? So a lot of you guys CBRN reps, they may not have access to DTMS. I highly suggest you actually get them access and get them school trained. That way it'll help speed up your operations, and one person will not be the single point of failure. Yeah. So how do you prepare to put services on actual DTMS unit training calendar, right? So one, you need a copy of the service schedule, any equipment TMs to verify different service intervals and checks, your maintenance SOP, and of course your unit DTMS SOP. So currently wrote a DTMS SOP that my unit is currently using. For us, the color red, anytime we see red on our unit training calendar, it means it's either a service or some type of calibration or some maintenance is required, right? So schedule a service. So most of you guys that have your DTMS operators, they'll understand how to create and schedule an event, but this is the screen that'll actually pop up when they go to actually create one, right? So what I like to do for creating a service, I'll do like semi, M50 mask, admin number was a small 03, right? So that's what I use for my event name. Audience is always going to be my Seaburn NCO, the date, the time. Normally I like him to spend at least 15 minutes on each mask. When we do our DTMS, we build out between 15 to 20 minutes per mask for service. I always mark it as a major event. Event type to me is always admin. Point of contact number, Seaburn rep, any applicable regulation that covers what you're trying to do. And then of course the notes to me is the most important. So here I cover the admin number, the model, the serial number, the plan date, the late date, and then what type of service it is, which here is the semi-annual service. So once they build this, we got multiple mass services. You know, you can do a mass service event name, but I like to do it individually, right? So yeah, you can go down here to save as template, and you can save it and it'll load the same information when you put it in this admin number. But once you hit save, it'll load you with another screen where you add your location. So this is going to let you know where the location of that service is going to take place, right? So this is important because when you look at your training calendar, you know, all those tabs all the way across are going to be filled out. Your location is going to be blank. It's just going to clean up your DTMS reports a little. So once you do that and you hit save, there's another tab over here where it says draw. So everything we do in the Army is a draw, right? So once you're here, you can add a draw. So when the way I set up my draws is I have all my draws already like pre-typed in Word, so I can just cut and paste in here. I usually do this for my masks, my weapons, anything that requires a service, right? So for me, for my mask, you know, it's a low risk assessment. For the notes, I normally put Seaburn rep will conduct a semi-service on an M50 Pro mask to ensure equipment readiness and functionality of the mask. All 10 and 20 level checks will be followed in accordance with TM's unit SOP and Army maintenance and Seaburn regulation and manuals. All right. So a couple of hazards that I identify is loss of parts or damage to the equipment, right? When we're trying to actually take the mask apart and looking at it. Some of the controls that we put in place is the Seaburn rep will ensure that all these parts that are removed and inspected will be maintained at all times to reduce the risk of missing parts or damaged components. How we implement Seaburn rep will adhere to all safety precautions and follow. Seaburn rep will maintain accountability at all times during the service process. Then who supervises Seaburn NCOIC? Normally myself or my commander will go back there and verify that the services are actually getting done, or I have someone, a rep from my maintenance control section to come down and verify it. So once that's done, you hit save, you can actually go into DTMS and you can pull your training schedule. So the service that we just built through here, if you look here, semi-annual service, serial number or admin number Sierra 03, tells me the date, the time, the trainer, the risk assessment, the uniform, the reference, notes, right? So everything that we just built is all right here. So I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, it's not really hard to actually add this stuff to your DTMS. It just takes some time. Hopefully you guys do have some DTMS operators, because this is a huge part of the CMDP process, not just with Seaburn, but your arms room, all your shops, like all your command maintenance stuff should be on your unit training calendar to include your sustainment training, right? So make sure you keep that in mind. Hope you like this video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, go ordnance. For a CMDP series on the Seaburn room and operations with part 7 called service package, right? How you guys setting up your service package for your Seaburn mask equipment. So I know you don't need an actual service package, but I'm pretty old school and I like this way, and this way has worked for me my whole career. Keeps me accurate, up to date, and I'm always making sure that my errand files are completed the correct way. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, by the way. All right, so Seaburn service package, right? So I believe in keeping it simple, right? So here you go. Make sure it all has an errors label. That's number 1. All right. Cover sheet, service 5988 for your semi-annual service, your work order to include your continuation sheet, which is one area of any type of service packet that we normally fail because we never fill out the actual continuation sheet. All right. And of course, your updated 5988 showing with all parts in order or all faults have been corrected. So like I said, make it simple, right? So make it simple. Admin number, model, mass, size, service type, serial number, data service, and whoever is doing the service. So when I'm looking at my cover sheet, what I built for my company is the top portion, the same thing we just said. Now 59A checks, right? So all faults corrected or recorded, all parts installed, right? Is the 59A signed and filled out correctly, right? So make sure they're easy wins, but they're easy failures for a CMDP when you don't fill out your paperwork correctly. So when we talk about the 5990, right, all the action signatures, accepted, initial, final, picked up, make sure all that stuff is actually being filled out properly and there's actual signatures. When we talk about the updated 5988, we're talking about the faults found have a valid part on order with a valid document number, service data has been updated and hasn't been filed with in accordance with ARMS, okay? Then we talk about your shop office, all man hours applied. So it's the Seaburn rep getting those man hours. If there's one area in the motor pool that we failed, we need desperately to fix is our man hours. Mat sit update with any shop stock or bench stock. So did we have something broke on the mast that we were currently stocking? And if so, did we consume it properly in GCSS-A to create that demand? Okay. And then, like I said, all tasks closed out and the next service date's reflected. Company training rooms got a piece in this too. Update service is reflected in DTMS. Okay, then once all that's done, I normally have the equipment record part specialist sign there. So here you go. So this right here is your service 5988 if we were able to print one out. So just don't go to your equip state and print out a 5988, because if you print out just a 5988, it's always going to say inspected. Make sure you look at that drop down menu and you put semi-annual service. So it's supposed to reflect the type of service that's being done. Okay. Once that's done, you want to make sure that you verify all the administrative data, right? Next thing you want to do is you want to look right here, verify false and service work order notification is open, okay? So make sure for the semi-annual service, there's a work order number and a notification, okay? And from there, what's going to happen is you're going to have shop office print your 5990. For your 5990, like I said, you want to verify all administrative data again, right? Supporting data, you want to make sure this is correct. Your action signatures, accepted, initial, final, picked up, make sure all that's filled out. Then also here on your operations and parts description. So make sure that we're actually doing plan time, right? So 0.01 is what we're doing per mask, right? So make sure we're looking at this. And then of course, the area that we fail at is the 5990 continuation sheet. All right. So any type or any time a piece of equipment changes statuses, a parts needs to be ordered, fluid filter change, a service kit, torque wrench, torquing specs should all be reported here. Okay. Because this is your proof that this service is done. Right. So, ABSRU, all the different statuses. Now, if you want to know more about the 5990 and how to fill it out, I recommend going to EUN Plus, because there's a whole transaction guide and job guide that's going to show you everything I'm about to show you, right? So once you go into EUN Plus, you print it out, it's going to give you all the codes, it's your status codes, ABSRU, advice codes. It's going to give you your advice codes. It's going to give you more advice codes. It's going to give you fault codes. What fault cause codes. Why is it happening? Add more activity codes, like I said. And then once that's done, right? So next step is to close the work order. So make sure that they're closing the notification and work order. Make sure they're going through the time confirmation and you're getting the man hours for your Seaburn rep. You know, fault clearing, technical complete. Make sure that you got some green lights here and it's closed to go. So once that's done, you'll be able to print an updated 5988. And if you look, the service completed is gone, and the new service date is reflected right here, January 20th, 2023, right? And then the faults that were here are all gone. It's a clean 5988. All right. So, like I said, this is how I set up my trifolds for my service package for my mask. I have a cover sheet with my or the cover of the thing with the cover sheet. In the front of the trifold, on the left-hand side, I put my service 5988. In the middle, I got my 5990 work order with the continuation sheet right there in the middle. Then on the right-hand side, I have my updated 5988 clean copy on it. So doing a mass service packet is not hard. It'll help keep you organized and your administrative data squared away. Like I said, these are just some ideas and things that I use. You don't have to use them. If you got some better ideas or some more tips, make sure you leave them down below in the comments. Like I said, hope this video is being helpful so far. You know, we're getting ready to go through a great inspection with my unit for Seaburn room. So I'm kind of taking this time and jumping through the CMDP series checklist to cover this so that I'm not setting you guys up for success, but I'm also setting my Seaburn rep at my company level personally up for success. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, go Ordnance. Go in the CMDP series on the Seaburn operations and Seaburn room with part 8. Today, we're going to teach you guys how to add your TMDE stuff to the DTMS unit training calendar. All right. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you all for your support. All right, let's get started here. All right, so if you hadn't had a chance, if you go back a few videos, I actually showed you how to add your services to the DTMS training calendar. Same concept, same process, just a little bit different. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So how to prepare, right? So you can use your TMDE master list, your projected list, your equipment TMs, your maintenance SOP, your TMD lab, and of course your unit DTMS SOP. Like I stated in the previous video, we have a unit level DTMS SOP. Everything red identifies some type of maintenance action or calibration, right? So like in the previous video, if you wanted to go get your master list or projected list, you go through ASIP, go to maintenance or LNX Sabre maintenance, go down maintenance readiness metrics, go down to TMDE, and you can actually pull all of your stuff, right? So just like the services, the TMDE events, this is the screen that'll come up, all right? We already talked about this. So here is a copy of our master projected list here. And then this is we're going to use to create a TMDE event. So when I name my events for TMDE, I normally do the model number, calibration due, and the serial number, right? So always going to be the Seaburn rep and the TMDE coordinator is the audience. Of course, the event color is going to be red because, like I said, that's the color that we have identified for all maintenance actions in my unit. You'll have the date and the time. You'll go to major event, admin, fill out the point of contact, number, trainer, alternate trainer, the uniform, any type of references. And then for the notes, excuse me, I'm a little under the weather. And for the notes, the TMDE calibration due, right? So I normally do admin, model, serial number, nomenclature, the date due, and the data drop off, right? So make sure you're looking at that, the data drop off. So once that's done, just like the last for doing the services, you'll hit save, you'll put in your location, and then you'll go and you do your draw. And then when I set up my draws for TMDE, I set the risk assessment up as low. But for the notes of what calibration is needed for ANVDR serial number 7416 alpha, then I go to hazards, loss of equipment, and accountability during the turn-in process of the equipment. Controls, Seaburn rep will assign over TMD to the TMD coordinator. Once the TMD coordinator reaches the TMD lab, they will receive paperwork and drop off for accountability. How to implement, use of a 2062 or other documentation will be used throughout this process. And who to supervise, Seaburn rep and TMD coordinator. All right, so one thing to keep in mind when you're talking about like supply stuff, any SI or cyclic inventory, right? So if that equipment is not in your arms room, Seaburn or whatever, right? But it's on Fort Carson or wherever your location is, you should go and just verify that it's there, right? Just keep that in mind. So once that's done, you can actually go and you can print your training schedule. And if you look here, on March 7, 2022, between 13 and 14, is the drop-off time, Seaburn rep and TMD coordinator. And this is all the information we just built on the calibration that's going to be due for that UDR 13. So like I said, this isn't a hard process, same process as building a service, but I thought I'd break it up and just actually have one video just for TMD. Keep in mind, make sure this does go in your DTMS. These are easy wins for any type of inspection. All right, so hope you like this video. Hope you're liking the series. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and go over in 9 of our CMDP series on the Seaburn room and operations, right? So today we're going to talk about doing and adding sustainment training for Seaburn to your unit DTMS training calendar, okay? So there's several ways to do this. Like I said, this is just one way. However, I'm open to more ideas. If you got some other ideas or what training, Seaburn training you guys do or how you do it, make sure you leave it down below. Without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. By the way, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. All right, so adding Seaburn training requirements to DTMS, right? So how to prepare and what you need. Unit Seaburn SOP, current unit training schedule, skill level 1 and 2 tasks, and of course your task conditions and standards, right? Or your LOOs and so forth. So in our unit SOP that I previously shared in a previous video, we list out all the skill level 1, 2, 3, and some 4 skill level tasks. Right. So what else should I train on? So there's several things. If you look at between the CMDP, the battalion, brigade, OIP, Seaburn checklist, or the great inspection, there's several things that we can be doing training on. All right. So mass confidence test, right? Gas chamber, chemical defense teams, chemical recon survey teams. So if you look at like your IOAP inspections, most of us going to say, hey, you're required to have 16 people trained as a chemical recon or survey team. Make sure we have those teams identified. Make sure they're appointed in writing by the commander. You know, your M26 training. You know, your mass PMCS, Seaburn reporting, your MOP levels, unit Seaburn SOPs at the lowest levels. So one thing that I like to do on my training calendars, I like to schedule a time, usually once a quarter, where we'll review certain areas of SOPs. With my whole company, right? So they're constantly being fed what's expected of them and how we operate and conduct business. So to build training, right? So schedule a training event in DTMS, right? So there are multiple ways to do this. You can go and you can filter by your metal task and go for this is exactly what I'm doing. My unit task list, right? So these are all of the Seaburn stuff that the commander and I decided we want to train. So we're actually training on 2 tasks per month. So what we do is we break up our metal tasks by quarter. And like, for example, for us, for 4th quarter, we are knocking out all of our Seaburn tasks. So we take 2 individual tasks, and by the end of the quarter, we're building up to our company collective task and so forth, right? So these are just some of the tasks that we decided we want to train on. So like I said, the schedule in DTMS, all you're going to do really is click on one of these links, and you can either go to assess, task, evaluate, schedule. So you're going to click on schedule, right? So when you schedule a task, you can fill out just like you were filling out your TMDE service or services for your T-burn equipment. Your task name, when it's supposed to happen, what color it is, individual training, and all this stuff. You can fill all this stuff out for you right here. So once you do that, of course, you go in and you'll add your location, you'll build your draw. Now for training like this, I normally go ahead and print the risk assessment out so that we can actually put a package together. Because if you're doing your training meetings like you're supposed to, I normally have the instructors for the following upcoming training back brief me and commander so that we are tracking the training. If there's any type of adjustments that need to happen, we're all have time to react. So once that's done, right, you can look at your training calendar, and long range planning tool. And if you look right here, it's going to tell us, boom, detect liquid chemical agents using N9 detector paper. So we're actually have this training scheduled. And what's really cool about DTMS, if I go back a couple slides, if you want to assess the task or evaluate the task, right, you can click in these, and here it's going to give you your whole go, no-goes, how to set up the training, all that stuff, which is really cool. And then you can also actually go in here and you can give the credit to the soldiers in your DTMS, okay? So sign-in sheets, sign-in rosters, you can do all that from DTMS. So I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, I'm not going to go too much into this. Hopefully you guys know how to actually schedule DTMS training. I just wanted to show you that you are supposed to put it on your training calendar. I'm going to start a first sergeant series soon, talking about all areas of what a first sergeant is responsible for. Once we get to the DTMS portion, I'm actually going to go in there live in DTMS and show you guys how to mess around and build some stuff. So I hope you liked this video. Like I said, I hope you're enjoying the series. As always, go Ordnance, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Back for another GCSS-Army maintenance operations video. And today we're on part 10 of our series on the ARMs and binder labels for your Seaburn room and operations. So this is going to be a quick ARMs video, just roughly focusing on the Seaburn room, some tips and tricks, what I do. I am going to do a full series on ARMs from start to finish. That's going to be coming after we're done all the CMDP stuff. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. By the way, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. All right, so Seaburn room, ARM labels, all right, and binders. So just like the rest of the series, this is the actual checklist of the CMDP. So ARMS, Records Information Management System. That's what ARMS stands for, right? So ARMS is used in the Army for everything, right? So objectives and some references we're going to use on this: train the trainer, understand the purpose and resourcefulness of the new ARMS, learn the basics of ARMS, and then of course, if you want to know more, which I highly suggest, AR 25-400-2 and the ARMS user guide and ARMS website. All right, so basically, the purpose of Army record keeping is to properly maintain information and creation through final disposition according to federal law and Army record keeping requirements. This regulation 1-1, right? So establish the ARMS as a portion of the Army information management, furnishes only legal authority for destroying non-permanent, okay? So this provides us a life cycle for all of our records and how we're supposed to keep them for maintenance, storage, retrieval, stuff like that. Ensure that mission essential records are available when needed. Preserve the records needed to protect the rights and interests of the Army, all right? So keep that in mind. So application, right? So like I said, ARMS applies to all unclassified Army records, including FOUO, regardless of the medium, all right? All classified Army records through secret, records that are top secret may be set up under ARMS or in a manner that will keep accountability and control easier. Regardless of the arrangement used, however, the disposition instructions in the ARMS records retention schedule will be applied to top secret records, all right? Like I said, the security classification of record does not change this retention value. So ARMS does not apply to, right? So record copy of international agreements, publications, blank forms, stocked or filling requisitions, reference materials, books, informal organized or official designated libraries, personal or private records maintained in the workspace, right? So with that said, I understand personal and private records, but make sure that you have at least the Privacy Act statement on your desk drawers and things. So disposition instructions, right? So all these codes, when you look at an ARMS label, you'll see a K, a T, a KN, KE, so forth. So disposition instruction of records are categorized as two types of records. The first type of record is that it has no value beyond the business process. These are usually short-term records. The second type is for records that have a value beyond the business process, such as historical, lessons learned, research purposes. These are generally long-term. Disposition instructions are coded with begin with the letter K or T, right? Or transferable, followed by an E for event when applicable. The last part of the code is a number representing the retention period, or the letter P for permanent, okay? So you can find that in 1-C. So code K, right? So along with the retention period means this record must be kept for a period of time specified before it can be destroyed. So when you look at your ARMS labels, when you see a K, make sure you're looking at the label. KE is along with the retention period. The disposition is event driven, okay? And the record must be kept until the event occurs plus specific time after the event. You got your KN is used when specified time period is unknown. Records are kept kept until no longer than 6 years conducting business, all right? Then KEN is used when a specific time period is not known, and the disposition is event driven. Records are kept until the event occurs and then until no longer needed, all right, but not longer than 6 years. Then you got your code T, okay? So it's retention period for longer than 6 years. The records are retired, archived, and so forth. Then TE, like I said, it's event driven. Code TP, TPE are used for records with permanent retention periods where records are retired, okay? So like I said, everybody uses ARMS, your training room, supply room, arms room, Seaburn, commo, the first sergeant's office, the commander's office, your XO's office. Every desk and everything should be filed in accordance with ARMS, right? So like I said, these are some references. You got DA PAM 25-403. And then, like I said, the purpose, okay? The whole reason for ARMS is the ability to manage hard copies and electronic records more efficiently, okay? And then giving us all the web-based tools and technologies to actually get this done. When you access the website, it is CAC access only. Most organizations and posts require you to take an ARMS class, which is a short class, help you set up your accounts, help load your oral, and also help with loading your office symbols, because it's office symbol driven. Like I said, create, action officer receives, creates, manages records. There's your website for your ARMS. So supplies, right? So folders, standard size folders to consolidate, retrieve, to protect the records. Your guide folders are standard guides to divide records to identify subdivisions for easy filing and retrieval. And of course, all your labels are 51s, 61s, okay, or equivalents. And of course, you need your fastener, binders, and envelopes. So here's just a quick example. In a bucket, there are subcategories. So if you look here, you got your 700 alpha, 700 alpha hand receipts, 700 alpha recon, 700 alpha signature cards, right? So that's one way of doing it. Now, in the event, like I know a lot for us, publications and so forth, we usually have those on a disc. However, in your filing cabinet, if you do have something in your Seaburn room, let's say your TMDE book, right? So your TMDE book, make sure in your actual ARMS or your filing cabinet, you put this right here, this records cross-reference, which is DA Form 1613, saying, hey, these files are located in this binder on this bookshelf in this room. Be specific as possible, all right? So make sure you're following this and make sure you're using this form. And then same thing with your CDs, and you got to make sure that all the stuff is labeled, right? So what should I be tracking, right? So like I said, the Army standard is that all filing systems use ARMS. So for the Seaburn room, I use 800 Delta, 600 Echo, and I use 700 Alpha. So under 800 Delta, I usually use for reference publications, policies, procedures, SOPs, external SOPs, appointment orders, things like that. 600 Echo is school training and education. So fit test, chamber training, skill level tasks, training calendar, DTMS printouts, all that stuff is what I normally put in my 600 files. So your 700 alpha files is where really your meat and potatoes are, and where you're tracking all your general logistics, equipment, supplies, and appropriate accountability. So for this, I normally do my TMs for my limbs, cyclic inventories, sensitive item inventories, your individual hand receipts for your mass, your DA forms 1687s, your signature cards, assumption and command orders. This is where I normally track my TMDE projection, delinquent, my calibration trackers, stuff like that. Seaburn equipment 5988s, service schedules, service packets 5990s, right? So all the day-to-day stuff is what I usually use 700 alpha for. So if you go to the teams page, if you want the link, just email me down below or comment down below and I'll get you the link. But I already built all the Seaburn labels from my company and I'm willing to share them. Just an example, like I said, 800 Delta publications, right? Then, you know, I talk about external SOPs, fit test, just basic stuff that we actually use here at the company level. Let me blow this up a little so I can show you a little better. So like 600 Echo chamber, right? Your sign-in sheets, your skill level tasks, your cyclic inventories, individual hand receipts. All this gets a label. Let's click through a couple more here. There you go. Here's your 1687s. You know, make sure that you have a 1687 book or something. Like I know for my Seaburn room, I got everybody a Task C account for my Seaburn so that they're able to draw training aids and so forth. So when we want to actually do Seaburn training, we can make it realistic as possible, right? It's all about that. And of course, your 5988s, PMCS, your service schedule, your calibration data, your TMDE data. Now, like I said, when you're building your error files, like you want to keep this in mind. Let me shrink this a little. So these are the labels that I normally use for my binders, like current MTO unit or unit MTO. That way I can put it on the spine, make the cover sheet, and I'm good to go. You know, I cover the maintenance SOP, TMD, like I told you before, the DTMS SOP, depending on whether it's a service, calibration, and training, it all gets a certain color so that I can quickly reference it inside of a training schedule. Yeah, arms or ARMS guide, Seaburn SOP, battalion SOP, some of the regulations, field manuals, stuff like that. DTMS calendar, TMD, equipment records, CDE reports, battle book, the GCSS-Army battle book I built for my unit, hand receipts, individual equipment hand receipts. I normally break it up A through L, N through Z, so it's a little bit easier for me to find. Yeah. So you can see there's a lot of stuff you track. And then of course, for like the service packets, you know, 700 alpha, general equipment, service packet. I normally have the admin number put in here and usually the serial number of the mask or whatever requires a service packet. So like I said, this was just a quick, easy breakdown on some of the ARMS ways as you can do in your Seaburn. Like I said, there's no quick way or there's nothing saying what you have to do for ARMS, like how you're supposed to, like what records. You're given a lot of leeway on what you need to do, but there are certain things, if you look at your checklist, and things that, you know, it looks like you're supposed to be tracking and keeping, more likely you probably need an ARMS label for that, all right? So hope you like this video. Make sure you stay tuned for the conclusion of the series sometime later this week. And as always, go Ordnance. GCSS-Army helpful video. And today we're continuing with part 11 of our CMDP series on Seaburn room operations and procedures, right? So today is going to be a short, quick, and easy video just showing you some basic common NSNs and stuff that we need to be ordering, right? So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get this started. By the way, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. So basic common ordering items, okay? So Here's the list of the Seaburn requirements, and I did the requirements, whether it be per squad, per soldier, every 5 soldiers, per vehicle, etc. Right? So basically, for the 256 trainers, you need 1 per squad. So basic math, we need 16 in my company. All right, so just do the math. You got 3 platoons. How many squads you have? That's how many of those you need. Your M8, M9 paper. So your M8 paper, you need 1 per soldier, which is your MTO number. M9 paper is 1 per 5 soldiers. Your Camelback drinking adapters, 1 per soldier. 295 is 1 per soldier. Your voice amplifiers. So this is going to be different depending on the makeup of your company. But for me, I like to do my squad leaders, my platoon leaders, platoon sergeants, first sergeant, XO commander. One thing I didn't add on here that I think is critical is also make sure that your recovery assets, those guys have the voice amplifiers. Of course, your M100 is 1 per vehicle. Your MPHS is 1 per soldier, and then your canteen caps is 1 per soldier. So like I said, this is just a basic rundown of the things that you're required to have on hand and how many you're supposed to have on hand per guidance. So I hope this video was helpful. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, go Ordnance. Another video, and today we're actually on part 12 of our series talking about shelf life items. Okay, so it's going to be a quick, easy video. I really hope you guys are enjoying the Seaburn series so far. We're almost halfway through it. Yeah, so let me go ahead and share my screen with you and we'll get into talking about shelf life. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. All right, Seaburn shelf life items, right? So everything that we have in the Seaburn room, depending on what it is, could have an extended shelf life, right? So there's one website I want you guys to remember. It's JAX, right? So JAX is the Joint Acquisition Seaburn Knowledge System. So this is going to give you a lot of helpful, useful information, some training guides, materials, equipment information, support, and so forth. But once you actually get an account and you log in, there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. You can talk about new equipment training, lessons learned, different links to training equipment, multiple publication fact sheets, hazmat documents. You can do your MSDS sheets right from here. You can also do a quick search. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. There's a lot of drop-down menus, but most importantly, there's a shelf life status tool. Okay, so you're able to actually go in there and actually look at the shelf life. Once you put in the information, it's going to tell you exactly when the shelf life is authorized and for the period is. Like I said, you're also talking about publications, training resources, restricted access tool, Seaburn COTS information. There's also a 24/7 hotline support link. So if you ever do need assistance, you can actually call them and you can go from there. So when we talk about shelf life program, right? So a shelf life program, quality surveillance program is established. It's a Seaburn room for bulk and packaged products that have a shelf life requirement. A shelf life item must be inspected every 90 days. All right, so a little bit further in this PowerPoint here, I'm going to show you guys a simple tracker that you might be able to use to help track your shelf life. But every 90 days, it must be inventoried and inspected in accordance with AR 702-18, right? So when we're talking about storing this stuff, the storage area temperature must be controlled, all right? Storage area has to have limited access, and also the storage area does not leak or have utility lines or pipes that can cause unexpected damage and lead to the failure, right? So like I said, shelf life items, units are maintaining information for training and contingency operations with expiration date, lot numbers, inspections, and test dates. So contingency items within 6 months of expiration must be reordered unless the message of a shelf life extension is received. Like I said, when you go to JAX, you can look all this up and it's going to give you all the information you need to actually build these trackers. Mark all extended shelf life with message number and date reference that extended the shelf life. Then the following are examples of items that must be inventoried and documented for shelf life status and tracking. The list is not all exclusive. This is just a list that I put together for each Seaburn NCO should check these items, okay, whether or not they have an expiration date or they have a reorder date. So here you go. Here are some examples of some of your shelf life items. So your batteries, your canisters, decon kits, your 295s, overshoes, helmet covers, hoods. These are all shelf life items. Now, one thing I like to say is, like, when you build this in a tractor on Excel, all you got to do, like I said, item, NSN, shelf life, class supply, just build your tractor. All right. So here you go. Here's how you're monitoring tractor. Like I said, every 90 days it must be inspected. So the nomenclature, NSN, the quantity, the lot number, if it has one, date produced, expiration discharge date, test date, and then the location stored and issued. Okay, so for example, this is its NBC cage, shelf 2. All right. So like I said, this was a quick, easy video telling you guys about shelf life items and where you can actually go to get your information for your shelf life items. And like I said, JAX, the Joint Acquisition Seaburn Knowledge System, is a freaking awesome site. There's a lot of information that you guys can get from there. All right, so hope this video was helpful. Hope you all are enjoying the series. We'll be back with the next part, probably next couple hours. But as always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and go Ordnance. On part 13 of our Seaburn series for CMDP. And today we are talking about completing a CDE report. All right, so without further ado, let me share my screen. We will go from there. All right, so the Seaburn Room CDE report, right? So this is a requirement in both the CMDP checklist, the IOP checklist, and then the Great Inspection checklist. All right. So chemical defense equipment reporting, okay, in case y'all are wondering what it actually stands for. So if y'all want to give this class your actual Seaburn reps, here's your TLOs, action condition standards. All right, so we're going to look at how to complete all columns of a chemical defense equipment CDE inventory chart. Talk about shelf life items again, because it is part of the CDE report. Conditions, like I said, given a student handout. Standards, complete the columns of CDE chart, shelf life item. All right. So learning activity 1, identify the parts of a CDE chemical defense equipment report. So chemical defense equipment, right? So chemical defense equipment report provides the command and staff with the knowledge of chemical defense equipment statuses. Okay, so stuff you have on hand, stuff that's broke, stuff that's FMC, versus what you have on hand versus your MTO, and what you're actually authorized. All right. CDE provides information on equipment availability, like I said, equipment needs, serviceability, and location of the equipment. The CDE report also reflects items authorized for a unit according to its MTO. And then MTO items are initially for peacetime training and wartime purposes, enable a unit to accomplish its mission successfully. All right. So sections of a CDE report. You got your date it was prepared, your unit, your UIC, your MTO number, MTO date, your number of personnel authorized through the unit, number of personnel assigned, and then your equipment identification columns. All right, so sections of a CDC, okay? So you got columns showing the equipment line number, equipment required, the equipment authorized, equipment on hand, any equipment you have on order. Also shows the equipment serviceability, and also tracks the wipe test and calibration column that indicates the dates and calibration of when it was last done and when the next calibration is. So there's also a section for training. Section for Seaburn training is a good method of tracking, but not usually part of CDE, right? So this is something you guys can add. Most of your battalions will have some type of way to track your actual CDE training. So a lot of times they actually use the CDE report to do this, all right? So sections are to include, but not are limited to, right? So you got your Seaburn battle run, robin, round robin, gas chamber, your basic decon, your MOP 4s, firing individual weapons, cruiser of weapons. Column is also dictated to show the percentage of soldiers trained in each area. So it'll show you where you actually have to work on your individual and collective task, right? So here is your CD report header, right? So all the information we just talked about is right here. This is one example. A little bit later, I'm going to show you another example of the actual report that we use in our company. So here's this. Here's your CDE closing report. And learning activities, okay, shelf life items. So we already talked about shelf life items before. I'm not going to really hit and go too much in depth to this, but just remember, every 90 days, you must inspect those items in accordance with 702-18, all right? It's got to be stored in a temperature controlled area, limited access, and in a room that's not leaking or having utility lines or pipes. Like I said, contingency item 6 months of expiration must be ordered unless the message of the shelf life is extended is received. Like before, this is just an example of shelf life items, and this is how you would fill out the report. Basic information and the mandatory information is the nomenclature, quantity, lot number, date of production of packaged items, expiration, test date, and location of storage, right? So where is it stored? So let's complete a CDE report, right? So you're a Seaburn NCO for Alpha. Your unit has just completed Mod 4 training. See the example practical exercise, right? So part of CDE, maintain shelf life item is what we talked about. So here's the example of how we do ours here in my current company. Let me blow this up just a little for y'all. So if you look, everything we talked about, the submission date, unit MTO, personnel on the MTO, total assigned, and so forth. Then we go into the protective mask. We have all of our masks, how many we were required, how many were authorized, how many are on hand. And then, like I said, it also tracks your fill rate, your NMC rate, and your FMC rate. So if you look here, our large mask, we're at 63%, right? Then we go into your detection equipment, you know, your JCAS, your VDR2s, your 13s, your 75s, all that is tracked the same way. And then, of course, your M26 or your MPDS systems, right? And from there, we break down in what we call category 2, which is continuous C IPE requirements. So this here is going to track all your decon papers, all your soil samples, water test kits, contamination test kits. So I was going to talk about your alarms, your batteries, your what they call your soldiers basic Lowe's items. Okay, so it's your filters, detection paper, and then go into medical supplies. Right. So if you look right here in the allowances, right. So it's going to tell you, for example, the M272 water test kit, 1 per Seaburn recon team. All right, so what we're required, what we have on hand, and it's going to let you know right here. And if you do need any of these NSNs that need to be ordered, they're already here for you, okay? Then we go into what we call category 3, which is your training IPE, which is your J list, right? So it's going to talk about your tops, your bottoms, your coats, your trousers, then go into your glove sets, and then of course your overboots. And here is your training standards. So your M61 filters, like I said, 1 filter pair per soldier. It breaks down what you need per soldier to actually make this happen. So hope this video was helpful. Like I said, I'm going to post this in the teams. If you want a copy of the CDE report and how to fill it out, leave a comment down below. I hope you guys are enjoying the series. We're going to be wrapping it up sometime later this week, and we are going to go from there. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, go Ordnance. 14 of our CMD series on the Seaburn room operations. And today I'm just going to give you some simple tricks and some documents you can use to build your equipment malls, your mass malls, and your mass charts. All right, so make sure you leave a comment down below with your email address if you do want a copy of these Excel documents, so they're formatted so they do all the tallying for you. I'm going to put it on my team's page as well. By the way, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. All right, so without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen. We will get started and knock this out. All right, so like I said, Seaburn room mass and equipment malls, right? So you are required as a Seaburn rep to actually keep a mall for both your equipment and your actual mask and personnel J-list sizes and so forth, right? So I created a few different types of trackers that I'm going to share with you guys. hopefully it helps you. Like I said, if you want a copy of them, make sure you let me know down below, and I will get you those. Move that out of the way. All right, so the first thing I want to tell you guys, a lot of people have asked me, especially trying to service mask, where do you actually find the serial numbers? So here's where the serial number is located on the N50 mask, right behind the right side filter if installed. This right here is where your serial number for your mask will be. So just want to throw that out there for some free chicken. So here you go. Here is your mask mall, right? So basically, these columns here is what's required for the grade inspection, any OIP inspection, and this will satisfy the requirements for the CMDP inspection, right? So your mask mall number, your size, rank, name, if they have inserts, insert install date, mask serial number, canister lot number, mask fit date, canister install date, last clean and sanitation, and then of course you got your J-list coat, trousers, your gloves, your boots. All right. So all these are requirements. So one way to maintain this tracker, like I said, in processing, out processing, kind of drives your whole Seaburn operation. So as long as they're filling out the in-processing checklist, you're immediately able to take that checklist, file with ARMS, but you're also able to update your mask mall or chart, and then it's always accurate. Okay. So the next tracker is the same as this one, just this is for your equipment. So this is the minimum that you need to, well, I don't want to say minimum because I do track two things here that are not required because we use equipment hand receipts. So we use the admin number, NSN item, of course your serial number, last calibration, the void calibration date, the last PMCS, and then we issue the DD 3749 equipment receipts for like our JCADs or VDR teams for like our recon teams and such. So make sure that you put a yes or no if it's been issued or not, operator of equipment, and wherever it's located. So if it's going to be located, in the Seaburn room, fine. However, when they actually go to sign it out, a good rule of thumb is to go in here. I don't know if you want to make it in yellow, but just say currently at TA 20 Bravo, Fort Carson, Colorado, somewhere, so you know exactly where that equipment is. Then here's your mask chart. So this one is pretty cool. I built this so it has all your administrative information, your protective mask information, and then of course your individual protective equipment, right? So what this will do, once you plug everybody in here, it'll actually give you your total numbers down here, which this will help feed your CDE reports and any other reporting requirements you have from battalion, brigade, or higher, right? So this is just one quick tip on what you can do. So like I said, this isn't really rocket science. It's not really hard. It's pretty easy. Just like I said, it takes a lot of I don't want to say discipline, but we got to do the right thing, right? So we have to do the right thing when it comes to in processing, out processing, tracking, accountability of equipment and supplies, and you guys will be set. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and as always, go Ordnance. On Seaburn operations for the CMDP checklist. Today we're just going to go over the GTA for individual protective equipment, so that you guys are aware of this GTA. It's got some great resources on it, NSNs, diagrams, gives you some pointers as well. I like to post it up in my Seaburn room, but without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will get started. By the way, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, right? So GTA 03-10001, right? Seaburn individual protective equipment. So what I like is it actually breaks up some stuff for you. So it gives you your tactical gear, where your call sign is supposed to be going, your chin strap extender. In case you all didn't know, there's actually an extender for the Kevlars, so that your mask and you don't have to keep adjusting your Kevlar when you actually have your mask on, right? So M9 detection paper, this tells you exactly how that stuff is supposed to be worn. Like I said, if you want to know more about MOP levels, see table 2-2 and ATP 3-11.32 for details, right? So from there, it talks about your equipment. So it just gives you some helpful tips and pointers here on what to actually look for. So use chin strap extenders to stabilize the helmet, night vision goggles when wearing the M50 mask. Then on the right hand side, it's got the M50 mask, right? Tells you all the components, the head harness, the face piece, eye lens, front module, communication port, your drinking tube, your coupler, right? So that is pretty cool. I have an actual diagram like that, and you're able to identify all your pieces. Like I said, the filters provide continuous protection, eye, respiratory, skin, and so forth. Make sure you have your M50 canteen cap and so forth. So here's where it really gets interesting. So this is a lot of stuff that you're able to order. Some of the stuff you actually have to have on hand for your CDE and your CDE reports from your battalion and brigade and higher and stuff. But talks about the multi-purpose personal hydration system, right? So there's the innocent for that. Your M40, M50 caps, your training adapter, your amplifiers, right? And then your microphone adapter. And it talks about your radar detector, right? Your DT236. Your Seaburn chim strap adapters are there for his NSN. Talks about your individual equipment carrier, right? One per service member. So all these items here, and it gives you the NSNs of what's actually supposed to be in the bag here, in the carrier, right? Talks about communication equipment, right? Gives you some pointers, place hand mic where it can be easily reached, right? And then here, which is really cool, you mark all key personnel with key sign patches placed on each side of the helmet to facilitate friendly forces recognizing when wearing J-list and low visibility. So, for example, BCO's first platoon leader is Bravo 16. It says use a stencil to cut the call sign out of the black tape or cloth. Place glint tape between the cutout, sew and tape the call sign to Velcro, right? So it's pretty easy. And then down at the bottom, it talks about protective clothing capabilities. So your J-list service life out of the bag is 120 days. Wear time is 45 days. Wear time once contaminated is only 24 hours. After 24 hours, that J-list is no longer good. Now, which is awesome is, in case you already know this, you can wash your J-list up to 6 times, right? Decontaminated, you can never wash it. So hope this video was helpful. Like I said, just a quick, short, easy video on some different NSNs and some different products so you guys get your stock up and make sure that all your soldiers actually have what they're supposed to be carrying. So hope you like this video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, go Ordnance. CMDP series on the Seaburn room operations. So today, just like the previous video, we're going to show the GTA for all your detection equipment, useful tips, tricks, NSNs, and so forth, right? So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. By the way, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, all right? So small unit Seaburn detection equipment, right? GTA 03-10-002. So this is pretty cool because it's going to give you your common Seaburn hazard signs. I suggest you issue these to your soldiers maybe during in processing and so forth, so they have some idea of Seaburn training and the requirements that they may have. Small unit resources, right? So your chemical detection is going to be your M8, your M9, your 256 Alpha 2s, your JCADs, or the newer M4A1s. Then, of course, you got your radiological nuclear detection, which more likely you're going to have your 75 alphas, UDR 13s, and UDR 2s, right? So here's all the NSNs down here for your JCAD parts, your nozzle, your extension, and so forth. Then we actually go into the M4 chemical agent detector, the JCAD. So in case y'all don't know, the M4 JCAD detects nerve, blister, blood agent, as well as TIC's chlorine, okay? The JCAD uses 4 AA batteries, has a rain cap, nozzle, point detection, right? So here's pretty cool because it actually gives you some of the components and what each part of the JCAD actually is. Then if you scroll down a little, right, you got your M8, M9 detection paper, okay? There's your NSNs. It's going to tell you what your M8 is good for, what your M9 is good for. And it's also going to give you some pictures here of what to look for and some ideas of the color coding and so forth, right? Then you got your 256 Alpha 2 detection kit, your M4 JCAD front, what it's going to look like, what the screen is, and so forth. So when you go to page 2, you got your M4 JCAD modes, how it actually works. A 5-second cycle for nerve blister blood, a 1 second for nerve blister for checking for CWA-1 is the mode. Then you got your ARPR75 redax stats. It tells you your major components. Your multi-ray, right? Your UDR13s, your rate versus dose. So the UDR13 is a squad level sensor that detects current radiation dose rate and total dose absorbed by an operator. So this is really cool. So make sure you're actually assigning teams for this, right? And actually doing training. Your VDR2 set is used to locate and measure gamma radiation and particles. All right. And then, of course, like I told you before, Jack's website is probably one of the best websites out there. It gives you all the new equipment, equipment specifications, your fact sheets, your safety data sheets, J-list training gear, your shelf life information, any type of advisory message or MWOs or anything applied to your Seaburn equipment. So make sure you check that out, right? So, like I said, this was just a quick and easy video, get some knowledge out there for you. I'm going to drop all these files in my Teams. If you do want them, you don't have a Microsoft Teams account, leave me your email down below and I will get you a copy at my earliest convenience. So hope you're enjoying this series. We're going to wrap it up. We only have a few more videos left. But as always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and go Ordnance.